This week on Mary's Reservation for Two.
So outside of the fun and kind of the everyday things, you were the first Canadian to do a spacewalk.
Mm-hmm. On the $5 bill.
I know, no big deal.
Crazy.
$5 bill.
I'm still alive.
Yeah.
He's made history as the first Canadian to walk in space and record an album at zero gravity. And now his children's book is coming to life on the stage. I'm so excited to share a meal with someone I've always admired, Colonel Chris Hadfield.
Are we ready? What are we having for lunch?
Well, thanks for joining me here at the Swan. The
Pleasure.
last time I was at a Firkin, I must say, I think was in university. I was in Waterloo at the Fox.
Oh, really?
So pretty fun.
Huh.
Very excited.
I went to Waterloo, but a long time
Oh, yeah?
ago, probably predating the Fox.
Yeah.
And then I'm a professor there sometimes.
Oh,
but-
amazing.
But normally I don't go to the pub. So,
No, and Waterloo is far from
Yeah.
King Street. Like,
Well,
it feels far.
Used to live on the border between Kitchener and Waterloo, just behind King Street.
Oh, amazing.
My wife worked at the big insurance company there, and
Oh,
we
right.
got married in Waterloo. And
No
our
way.
first child was born in Kitchener, so yeah, we're from that area as well.
Amazing.
But yeah, I like going back and teaching.
I met my husband. We went to Laurier. We went to the high school down the street,
Yeah.
I think is what it's referred to.
Nice. Yeah.
And we met. He was a stagehand at the, he was in the music faculty.
Oh.
And then stagehand backstage. I was in a play, yada yada.
I met my wife in a play. I don't think you knew that.
No, I did not.
We were in a play together. We were both acting in a play.
Oh my gosh.
The Man Who Came to Dinner.
Nice.
In high school.
Oh man.
Look at what a ride.
Hi, thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, you get a mustache.
I know, I was going to say, I was like, now I look like Chris Hadfield.
Yeah. So we were really young. I was 16 and my wife was 14, just turning 15 when we met. So pretty incredible.
So did you go to high school? You went to high school together?
Yeah, in Oakville, White Oaks.
Nice.
And we did indeed. Yeah, amazing. And so that was a lot of decades ago. But yeah, incredible that you could meet at that age and manage to find someone that you can spend your life with, but then also find ways to continue to adapt who you are and what you value and support each other so that you can stay together. I think we've been together 47 years
Wow.
now. So that number seems like unbelievably huge.
Yeah.
And yet it's just day-to-day good living. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. what
That's
can happen.
amazing. I met my husband I was 19, and it hasn't been 40-something years, but it's nice that we still find out new stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were just on a call right now, so dealing with something else. But what's fun is maybe but my third book, has been made into a play.
Yes.
And so theater has come back into our lives a little bit. My wife actually worked as an actress for a while.
No way.
Or at least was in, community theater.
Yeah.
Never huge, but
In
community
Toronto,
theater.
or?
No, in Houston, or
Okay.
near Houston, and did very well at it. So there's always been an undercurrent of that. I'm a terrible actor.
Yeah, same.
Where she's a good actor, but it's lovely now to see just how well that book has been brought to life by professional cast and crew, and it's been sold out and just done a great job. So it's really fun to have that turnaround in our lives from how we first met right to now creating a play that's doing really well in Toronto.
That's amazing. It's kind of full circle, like seeing yourself meeting in a play, being in the play, writing something, have it become something, and have all of your life kind of informing
And
that.
now going to the play with my granddaughter.
Oh!
And getting her to see, because now I don't think it's ever occurred to her that her grandpa was a little boy.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
that's
hard-
mind-boggling.
Hard to visualize.
Yeah.
But when now there's an actor portraying me at 10 years old, and the first time she saw the play, she was just sort of watching it like trying to figure out what was going on. Because the whole construct of a play is kind of weird, really, if you've never seen one.
No,
Like,
you're
what's
not
going
supposed
on?
to talk back to
Yeah,
them. What
what's
is
going on
happening?
here,
Yeah.
right? But once you get the construct of it, then we saw a dress rehearsal. Then we went to the real opening premiere performance, and she was way into it this time. And now she refers to as little boy grandpa. And hey, what the little boy grandpa was doing, and
How old
I
is she?
think she's 7.
Okay.
So I think it kind of. And because that is very much my character when I was a kid, it sort of is making her think about time differently and age differently. But what amazed me is she went home and found a program online, an app online,
Mm-hmm.
where you can make your own play. And she created a play with characters and a script and voices, and like the little virtual curtains open, and out come all the actors, and they do their whole play, and at the end the curtains close and there's applause. And so
You're
the
like
impact-
passing it on.
Yeah, and so when you talk about the circles closing, it was really delightful to see the play through her eyes, but then to think about what impact is that now going to have on her perception of normal and where she wants to go. So no, it was it's a lovely thing.
Man, I don't even remember when I figured out that time is a thing and that
Yeah.
it's linear and it kind of moves along.
Unless you get close to a black hole and it's no longer linear.
Oh man, space-time is wild. I am so excited to see you again. I'm trying to be like, I'm gonna say 99% cooler than the first time I met you.
Wait, that's a big aim.
It's a big
99%.
aim, and I'm not that cool usually. So it was on the set of MasterChef Canada.
Right.
We walked in and we knew something was different because there was a giant box.
You were one of the contestants.
I was.
And you were, when I was facing it, you were like over
That's
there.
very
and
accurate.
I remember, yes.
It's probably because I
exactly.
screamed really loud. Right?
You were lively.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, to be honest, on MasterChef Canada or any of the MasterChefs, when there's a giant mystery box, you know somebody's living it. You know someone's hanging out inside of there.
Yeah.
But oftentimes it's a chef,
Right.
or someone maybe from a different MasterChef kind of franchise, and out comes you.
Yeah.
And I had seen you perform with our mutual friend Danny Michelle.
Ah.
I was so excited. I think we actually had to redo you coming out of the box because I yelled so loud that the camera guys broke and laughed. Because I don't think anyone was expecting that type of reaction.
I've come out of small spaces.
Yeah.
It's okay. No
Yeah, was
big
that
deal.
a roomy box for you?
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Kind of comfortable, but yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was a good time.
And the food you made out of like the raw materials of astronaut food was pretty good.
Yes. So the challenge was using astronaut food, essentially, like dehydrated berries and chicken.
Irradiated and thermostabilized and all that other
Yeah.
army ration
Is
kind of
that
stuff.
is that actually what it's like?
Well, we don't have a fridge.
Okay.
And we don't have a freezer, and we don't have an oven, and we don't have a stove, and we
Excellent.
don't even have a microwave.
Oh, it sounds like a perfect way to make food.
So you're pretty limited.
Yeah.
And the food has to, of course, we sure don't want to get food poisoning or
Yeah.
something because it's such a wicked environment.
Yeah.
So the food has to pass really stringent requirements, and then it has to have a very, very long shelf life
Yeah.
because it could be months before it launches, and then it's going to be up in space who knows how long.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird subset of food. So we
Mm-hmm.
try and choose stuff that has almost no expiry date.
Mm.
So that means it's not normally great food.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, tinned food and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's fine. I stayed the same weight, or at least the same mass. I stayed healthy the whole time, so the food's fine.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go.
No,
go
wouldn't
there
go there for
the
that.
food.
It's not a
No.
culinary journey.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not.
When you were coming around to the stations on MasterChef Canada, I could hear everyone else asking you questions about space and things like that, and I think I complimented your watch.
Oh, this watch?
It might have been if this is a watch you also wore to space,
It is.
then
Uh-huh.
that is the watch you were wearing.
Yeah. Cool. On the
and-
back it says certified for spaceflight.
Oh my gosh.
It's been around the world 2,300 times.
I can touch. Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
It's heavy, huh?
That is heavy.
Yeah.
And I see it's kind of loosey-goosey on your wrist.
Well, I like that because I liked it when I was weightless to be able to see my watch just floating on its own on my wrist.
cool.
It was just cool to see. It was a reminder of where I was all the time. And so when I got back, I just keep it loose because it's kind of a little personal reminder. Of the time I spent off the earth.
That's amazing. And I honestly, ever since I was a kid, a bracelet like this,
Right.
my Nana, my grandpa had something, and I just loved doing this with it. So I
It
can
won't
get
fit
it.
your wrist very
No,
well,
I got a
don't
tiny
think.
little
Yeah.
wrist. It would really be floating around. But when I complimented it, it signaled a question in my mind, and I was like, why do you have a watch in space? If the sun rises and sets every 90 minutes, what
Yeah.
time is it in space?
Yeah.
And you said it was, you woke up with the Queen.
That's right.
And I
Or
knew
the-
it was Greenwich Mean Time.
Or now the king.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
who I've actually been working with recently.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm working with. Went and met King Charles a couple weeks ago or a month ago, and I'm working on a project with the King. So that's fun.
Did you tell him that you have a King Charles Spaniel as well? So now he's the second King Charles you've met.
I didn't mention that, but our dog knows. Henry knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so on board the spaceship, because you're whipping around the world and the world's turning underneath you,
Yeah.
you know, you get to see sunrise, sunset, and you get to see all the different countries of the world. So yeah, what time is it going to be anyway?
Yeah.
But our main control is in Houston and in Moscow. There's a mission control in Montreal, there's one in Munich, there's one in Tokyo, but the main ones are, because the station is primarily Russian-American built, Moscow, Houston, and so you want to make it as shared inconvenient as you can
Totally.
for all of those crews of people working in those two places. So we chose
The middle.
Yeah,
You
sort of the
destination wedding did, where
That's
it's like, this is the worst for everybody. Yeah.
yeah. Well, people got to get there. You know, in Russia, most people take public transit,
Yeah.
and so it closes at a certain time of night. So you've got to, think about how people are going to get there and back. So living on board the space station is partially driven by the Moscow transit system, which you wouldn't think.
No, I would not think. It's crazy thinking about how kind of connected everything is.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, you grew up in Southern Ontario, right?
I was born in Sarnia, and then when my dad got a job closer to Toronto. He was an airline pilot.
Okay.
And my mom and dad both grew up on a farm.
Okay.
So they wanted to raise their kids on a farm.
Yeah.
And so they bought a farm in between, a little bit west of Toronto, in between Milton and Oakville. And,
right on.
and my dad just turned 89, and they're still living on that farm, my
Well,
mom and
happy
dad. So,
really?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
farm you grew up on?
Yeah, from age 7 until I left home. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, yep. So Southern Ontario raised. Yeah.
Okay, and so from farm stock, but your dad was a pilot.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you got the inspiration to want to be an astronaut, or was that a longer journey?
No, I think that was more an enabler than a dream.
Yeah.
I think it was probably comic books and Star Trek.
Nice.
Is where, because what do you fantasize about when you're little, right? What do you dream about? What do you think is cool?
Yeah.
And for me as a little kid, I just thought, I love all this fancy, fantastic stuff. Star Trek's essentially a Western set in space,
100%.
right?
It's about adventure and finding the final frontier,
and all that daring do and all that stuff. And but what happened was I was watching Star Trek, and then people actually went to space at the same time. So it was as if you were watching X-Men, and then suddenly X-Men became real, and they became something that maybe you could do. And so for me as a little kid, it was like, how can this even be that stuff that was up until now just fantasy entertainment is now a thing that people actually do?
Yeah.
And so when they walked on the moon, the first moment that they walked on the moon in July when I was 9 years old, I basically said, if that's a thing that people can do, then I want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to grow up to be something.
Yeah.
Why don't I grow up to be that
Yeah.
thing? And so the fact that my dad was a pilot, it helped because you fly in space, and so I had to learn to fly. But it was more a combination of dreams and opportunity crossing over at a lucky time in my life.
That's amazing. Very few people. I'm often jealous of people when I was younger who kind of always knew what they wanted to be, because I've always been, I don't know, I was good at science, I was good at English, I was good at math, but I was like not good at French. That's where you lose me. But I never really had a focus. I didn't know what it was I wanted to do, so I went through school. I did my master's at U of T, but that was more an Arrested Development thing because I didn't want to make a decision yet.
Sure.
And then I've always loved cooking, and then I kind of fell into MasterChef Canada. I auditioned for that, and now I cook on TV and I write cookbooks, and it's all this luck and passion, but also like sticking your neck out, putting yourself out there.
What's that? If you want to make the gods laugh, tell them your plans.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and in my case, though, because I decided so early, and I decided to do something that was impossible because Canada didn't have astronauts.
Yeah.
It didn't have rockets, didn't have a space agency, you know, but...
At that point, it was just Russia and America, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But I thought they didn't used to have rockets and astronauts and space agencies either, and that changed. And so things are going to change.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I really have to change is myself, you know, if I'm going to do those things. And I mean, you weren't born as a winning chef.
No.
You learned, you decided that was something you wanted to do, and then you made mistakes all kinds of times until you eventually figured out, hey, how does all this work? And then you get good at it. And basically everything's just that. What's your recipe in order to succeed?
Yeah.
And so for me, I just ran into setbacks, nothing but setbacks. But eventually, through tenacity and patience and a lot of luck, flew in space 3 times and commanded a spaceship. Pretty amazing.
I would never look at you and think, man, that guy's failed a lot. But it's really amazing hearing you talk about that, because it's true. I think pushing for something and trying for something that feels impossible and working towards something that you're passionate about and care about, that's what life is about. Like, it shouldn't all be breezy easy.
Well, also, I think the real sweet spots in my life have been where I'm doing something that is interesting and challenging and where I'm learning, because like, hey, I'm trying to do something here that, man, I can just barely do it, hanging on by the virtual, you know, skin of my teeth here. But I'm also serving something greater than myself, you know, like working in service of my country, or something where there's a higher purpose to what I'm happening. It's not just for me.
Yeah.
And earning a living for myself and for my family, and hopefully all those things lining up to be moving me in the direction of stuff that I really just sort of fantasize and dream about.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to keep kicking myself back into those circumstances where you're challenged, where you're learning, where you're moving hopefully towards stuff you're dreaming about, and you're finding a way still to support on the day-to-day, and hopefully it's part of something that's way bigger than just yourself.
Yeah.
And I still do that every single day now. And yeah, and you never know how it's going to turn out.
No.
But if you keep those things in mind, it seems to sort of improve your odds,
Completely.
at least, of getting closer to what's important to you.
It almost keeps you in like the, it's almost like you stay in like a pinball machine.
Yeah.
You're not, it's not a straight line, you're hanging around, but you're still in there.
Yeah, and sometimes you get whacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't score any points.
No, or you fall down that side one and you're like, no.
But you get a few resets.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I don't, you know, sometimes you get a free game.
Yeah.
But to carry the metaphor, but yeah, I like the idea of that. And some days you just can't lose.
No.
Some days you're the pinball wizard.
Yeah.
And some days you're not.
No.
Yeah, but living on board a spaceship, you are reminded of the finite nature of the world. You go around it in 90 minutes, so it's not very big. But you also get a sunrise, and then 45 minutes later, a sunset. And so the cyclic nature of it, and the chance to start over, to get a new game, is accelerated.
Yeah.
You know, here it takes 24 hours, right? But on board a ship, you just keep like, all right, you know, this is a big circle and a cycle, and what you choose to do with these cycles is going to be the pattern and the determination of your life.
Yeah.
And so I've had a lot of time maybe to think about optimizing my chances to win at all those games. Yeah.
When you were on board the spaceship, so you've been to space, 3 space missions.
Yeah.
How was it going away? Because this isn't like Dad's going to Ottawa for a business trip.
Yeah.
Dad's going to space and can't turn around and is there.
And no beer.
And no beer.
Yeah, that's right.
No running water, no beer, no microwave, no. Yeah.
No bathtub, no shower.
No bathtub. I would die without a bathtub.
Yeah, no shower.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, just a sponge bath.
What a life.
Yeah. Think about shampoo. You know, how do you wash your hair with
How do you wash your hair?
Oh, there's actually you can go to the drugstore and get it. There's waterless shampoo.
Like dry shampoo.
Well, no, it's liquid.
Oh.
You just squirt a little bit in your hair, and then it just sort of mixes into your hair, even with hair as long as yours, and then you just dry it off on a towel, and the oil and the stuff in your hair just comes off on the towel.
What?
It works okay.
Okay.
And I mean, there are lots of astronauts with long hair
Yeah.
too, so it's easier if you keep your hair short.
I was going to say.
But yeah, it's a long business trip. But I think for a lot of people, they only see astronauts when they're going to space.
Yeah.
But I served as an astronaut for 21 years. I was only in space for 6 months. So the reality of life for my family, my kids, was the 20 and a half years that I was on Earth, not the 6 months that I was in space. And during that 20 and a half years, I was away from home about 2/3 of the time, like on the road, because it's an international space station.
Yeah.
And so you train in Japan and across Europe and across the US and across Canada and in Russia. And so they were used to a life where Dad's on a trip.
Yeah.
And then when I go to space, it's kind of cool because, hey, we're all going to go to Disney World because it's in Florida.
Yeah.
and Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to watch Dad go to space.
Yeah.
And, it'll be fun. And then we'll come home and get back to normal life. And Dad's trip in. He'll call us from space sometimes. And then he'll come back. And so, they got over the
It was
difference of it fairly soon.
It was
right?
status quo. You're on a trip.
Well, plus, I'm not the only astronaut in town down in Houston. That's where all of the NASA and astronauts from other space agencies train, and therefore where they live. And so
There's a community.
Yeah, well, there's lots of kids whose moms and dads are astronauts, so it's like it's a different job, but it's not a completely unique or bizarre job.
Yeah.
So yeah, for them it's just okay, fine.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, getting to go to Disney and do all that stuff too. Cape Canaveral is where they take off, right? Or no?
Yeah. There's the Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral. They're on the coast of Florida, on the East Coast, facing the Atlantic, and about an hour away is Disney World.
Nice.
And Universal Studios.
See, I know that
So-
because my Nana lived near there, and one time, my Nana was like a shopper, and one time we were on the phone with her, and there was a big crash in the background, and she was like, "Oh, they're probably blasting off one of those rockets." It was her purse shelf that fell down. So, so she has a rocket's amount of purses, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
A purse shelf.
Yeah, she had a whole shelf.
Wow.
She was quite a lady. With being in space, though, and even just traveling, for being an astronaut and having to go around and travel so much, did you have anything that you took with you, like any things, mementos from home that reminded you? I know in your book, Apollo Murders, there's the locket and there's things like that, and it's those things that remind you of home.
Imagine if someone said to you, you're going to go and live off the planet for at least 6 months. You're allowed to bring essentially like a little, your toiletries bag that you're allowed to take on an airliner. The little tiny one, about that big, and nothing too large inside. You can choose anything you want that'll fit inside. It can't be too heavy. It can't be fragile. It can't be, something that's going to float around and cause problems. But essentially, what would you bring? And we're allowed to do that.
Okay.
A little packet of personal things.
So you have a space you're allowed to fill.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And NASA has recognized that that's good for psychology. Give people a chance. And it's a natural request, right? I want to fly, I don't know, my grandma's brooch that she wore on the day she got married or something like that. Or I want to maybe buy a couple new wedding rings and have new wedding rings when I get back or something like that. So every astronaut thinks about that and discusses it with family.
Yeah.
Oh, look what's coming.
We're getting food.
Lunch is
All right.
served.
Okay.
I've got the Swan's fish and chips.
Thank you very
Nice.
much. I'm a fish and
Specialty of
chips
the
gal.
Swan?
Yeah.
All right.
And the shepherd's pie.
Classic pub fare right
Yes.
here. All right.
Anything else I can grab for you guys?
I'm perfect.
all
Thank you
set.
so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
So I had to decide what am I going to bring in
Yeah.
my little ditty bag, and so I asked my family, "What do you want me to bring?" And so I asked my kids and my wife, and then my brothers and sisters and my parents, and I said it's got to be little, and and they each made me things, and so I flew like a medal for my great grandfather, and I flew earrings, rings for my wife. I made sure I had a wrist. I flew 3 times, so I tried to have one watch for each child. So
Nice.
eventually, all 3 of them will get
That's
a watch
very
that
nice.
flew in
Yeah.
space. And then for the organizations that I belong to, like the schools I'd gone to, nice to be able to fly like a crest from a school or any of the the people that had taught me, the squadrons that I flew on as a fighter pilot or
Yeah.
a test pilot, that sort of thing. And the little bag gets filled up pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
And while you're in space, of course, everybody wants to see. Here you go.
Oh, thank you so
Everybody wants to see their thing in space. So there's one day where you go into the bulging window and you've got your little bag of stuff and you set up a camera. And then you get it to take a picture, and then you bring out each thing one at a time, and you take a picture of
So
it
it's like
next to you.
show and tell,
with
but
you
you're
going,
showing space.
Yeah, hey, look.
Yeah.
And so then when you get back to Earth, you can find that digital photograph and mount it, and then mount the thing, and then present it back to the person
Oh my
as
gosh,
a gift.
that-
So in my parents' farm, in their farmhouse is is that picture of me and the Earth in the background, and that family historic medal, in the hallway, just as a memento
Yeah.
of what one of the children managed to have a chance to do during their life. So,
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So yes. So bon appetit
Bon appetit.
or приятного аппетита.
Oh, is that Russian?
That's Russian.
Nailed it. Okay.
You have another language available?
Un
said
petit peu, not
petit
French.
peu.
Yeah.
Bon appetit.
Yeah.
Приятного аппетита.
Speaking of Russian, I've enjoyed in your book Apollo Murders. I love how much you don't have any reason to have worked that hard to make the book that good, because I would have bought it even if it wasn't. And it's really great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I could imagine what it's like being on the International Space Station. In 2 sentences, you tell me a word, and then you tell me what it is, and I'm like, oh, I'm an astronaut. I know what I'm doing. This is totally cool. And same with Russian.
Well,
It's so great.
I hate reading when the author leaves you behind. Where I'm reading a book and I realize, who is this character? What? I've lost complete track of who I'm even reading about now. So I try and be kind when I write a book, to remember that I'm not actually writing this book for me. I'm writing it so that someone else will be able to get some glimpse into what I'm excited about, and what I know about it, and what I've learned, and what I imagine. And so so I try and be very careful to make things clear but interesting, and hopefully memorably, sort of educational, like, oh cow, holy cow, I didn't know that. Like if I'm reading, I'm not a doctor, but if I'm reading a book about, surgery, I don't, I'm not going to be a doctor, but I'd like to learn enough about it to make it like kind of cool and interesting. And so when I wrote the Apollo Murders, and I've just finished the next book in that series,
I was going to ask that.
which is called The Defector.
Oh.
And it comes out in the fall.
Congratulations,
And,
that's so
thank you.
exciting.
And it's already doing great in pre-orders,
Oh,
and it's
amazing.
other languages and things, so it's great. But the same characters that you got to know in the Apollo Murders, they are the characters that are in the Defector. And the cool thing about the Apollo Murders is it's already in pre-production as a television series.
I am so excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And
Are you part of that as well? Are you involved?
Yeah, I mean, when you see a TV series, one of the things you don't jump to is, who was the original author on the book? That's not normal. Like, you're normally like, who's the actor?
Yeah.
Who's the director? And so I recognize that, yeah, I wrote the book, but I don't know how to make a TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to rely on a lot of super expertise, and they've got to take my book, which takes 15 hours to read or something, and turn it into something entirely different. So they need a really good writer, a script writer, and then they need a really good director, and then they need a really good editor, and then they need marketers, and so I'm very respectful of all of that, but they also need technical consult.
Yeah.
And they recognize, and I recommend, that they're going to be hard pressed to get better technical consult than the guy who wrote this book. And who flew in space.
Yeah.
So so my part in this is very much as an executive producer, technical consult, that type of thing.
That's amazing.
And it's super exciting for
Yeah.
me. And we've got, I can't announce it yet, but we've got some really cool things that are happening with the TV series, The Apollo Murders.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as it gets signed, I'll be able to announce it.
Oh.
But it's a cool thing.
That's amazing. Honestly, it's so cool, and it's like you're talking about. I one of the reasons I fell in love with television when I was on set of MasterChef, and I was like, oh, I think I'd like to keep being a part of this circus.
Sure.
Was because you get to work with people who are so good at something that I will never be good at.
Right.
And you get to work as part of a team and make something that so many people can enjoy.
I worked in mission control for a lot of years.
You were Capcom, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So mission control, it's like super hard, super technical, and your decisions are life or death, and they have to be instantaneous. And the person, mission control, sort of those rows of people
Yep.
and the flight director and all that.
Almost
But
like a theater.
what you don't see, yeah, it's sort of a theater, because everybody's looking at the screens of all the information. But what you don't think about is every single person there, like let's say you're INCO, which is instrumentation and communications officer. But INCO then is responsible for all data and all communications with the spaceship. So that person is sitting there, but they're talking to an entire room full of experts somewhere else who is watching all those data streams and all of the satellite dishes on Earth and how it's all linked together and predicting into the future. But that person in the front room has to think about, okay, in a little while we're going to have a dropout of communications, or something's going on, or we've had this technical failure, so this is not working. They need to be able to judge how does that fit in with everything else, and then decide to tell the flight director, who's sort of has to know everything about everything, and then I've been the Capcom and the capsule communicator, the astronaut in that room, and most of my life, I haven't been like the stupidest person in the room, and so in that room, man, you are just sprinting just to try and keep up with the brilliance and the technical competence and the awareness of all those group of people.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating place to work,
Yeah.
because you're presented with nothing but problems, and you have to, it's like this constant jigsaw puzzle or whodunit.
Yeah.
And you have to solve it before the sand runs out of the hourglass, and so it's a wonderful sort of addictive place to work. And I was NASA's chief Capcom. I worked in there for 25 space shuttle missions in a row. It's about 5 years every single day. You work 24/7. Really interesting place to work. But as you say, man, I want to work in this circus.
Yeah.
That was a cool place to be.
It brings us back to what we were talking about earlier with constantly being the highlights of your maybe professional life is when you're being pushed and challenged and trying to learn new things
And accomplishing cool
yes.
stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, being on the actual International Space Station and commanding it, you were on that for about 6 months, right? What is like a normal day like on that space station? Obviously, you're doing experiments. You worked on the Canadarm2, and I love a portmanteau, so I really enjoy robots and two words smushed together.
Yep.
So fantastic. But what was kind of the day-to-day?
At 6 a.m. London, England time, the alarm on this watch would go off. It's got this high beeping noise.
I was going to say, I like that this is it's a digital but also analog.
Yeah, they make them specially for ever since the 1960s. The guys who walked on the moon had a earlier analog version of this, but now it's got, this has mission elapsed time on it, and phase elapsed time, and it's got, what's nice is, it's got a glow in the dark feature. You can't really see it here, but on board a spaceship at night, when you're trying to, quietly move through just on your fingertips, don't want to wake anybody up. It's nice to just, turn on the light of this.
Use that, yeah.
Like Buzz Lightyear, right? With your little laser.
Yeah.
And see what's going on. So this would go off at 6 a.m. And I'm inside a little sleep pod. Tiny, just a little bit bigger than my body. It did occur to me partway through my time up there that this is about the size of a coffin.
I literally was, as soon as you
coffin,
started
that's what I
describing, I was like, that's spooky.
But however, it was fine. No window in ours. The Russians at their end of the station had a little window in theirs.
Well, that's nice.
But I think that would have been distracting because of the sunrises and sunsets.
Totally.
But anyway, so it'd go off, and then the first thing I'd do is just turn on my computer and just see if there was anything urgent.
Yeah.
Normally nothing urgent. Give myself a chance to wake up. And then 6 people, 2 bathrooms, so take turns.
That's actually better than most apartments I've
It
lived
is,
in.
yeah. Take turns. Or a big family.
Yeah.
Take turns, and obviously go to the bathroom and then brush your teeth. No sink, no running water, so you just bags of water, and then you swallow the toothpaste, and and you just
Is it normal toothpaste?
Yeah,
or is it
just-
like special?
Yeah,
okay.
no, regular toothpaste.
Cool. It's not
yeah.
space toothpaste?
Yeah. Toothpaste isn't poisonous.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'd all die.
Yeah.
So then you just, suck the water out of the toothpaste and Velcro it back to the wall. And I'd shave maybe twice a week. If I was going to be talking to the president or something, I'd shave. But,
How do you, what happens to the hair when you shave it?
We have a little, those electric razors that capture the whiskers in them.
You
but I
mean the
don't like-
ones that this is bringing me back to like friends' dads
Yeah,
driving
right.
in the car,
Exactly,
one hand
that's
and then
right.
shaving while driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shaving while driving
Yeah.
a spaceship. Same idea. I don't like those. So a regular razor, if you put a little bit of shaving cream on your face, and then you use a razor, and then you just wipe the razor and the shaving cream onto a washcloth.
Oh, so you're like an old-timey
And
straight
when you
razor.
do that, then the whiskers are just stuck in the shaving cream.
Got it.
And then you end up with sort of a slightly nasty cloth, but we would just leave it up to let the water evaporate out into the air so we could recycle the water. Because then that water runs through our system, gets recycled and turned back into drinking water again.
Wow.
About 92% of the liquid on board, including all
Things,
liquids,
yes.
ends up back in our drinking water.
Wow.
But that's no different.
I was going to say that's here. We just don't tell people
We
that.
just don't.
Yeah, we don't think about it.
When you flush the toilet, you pretend that it
It goes
disappeared,
away.
Right? Yeah. But shave, brush your teeth. Maybe you probably wouldn't have a cleanup in the morning because you're going to have to exercise during the day, and then gather for a quick bite to eat, and then you have a briefing with the mission controls around the world. So you talk to each of them: Houston, Moscow, Munich, Montreal, Tokyo, and then you got your schedule, and it's about 16 hours of work.
Wow.
And it's actually a computer program, and it shows each of the crew members and a bunch of other constraints. But the big thing is there's a red line moving across this schedule.
Keeping track.
And keep ahead of the red line.
Oh, yeah.
It's your whole job. What am I doing today? And then it's got all your tasks and all the subtasks and everything. And so you'll maybe run a fire burning experiment. How does flame behave without gravity? Or we run about 200 experiments on board. So there's a whole bunch of that, and then stuff breaks. You spend sometimes fixing things. You got to exercise 2 hours a day because the rest of the day you're weightless.
Yeah.
So you need to. We have a resistive exercise machine,
Yeah.
and we have a unicycle, a ergometer stationary bicycle.
Oh, my goodness.
And we have a treadmill, and it has you wear a harness and big bungees, so it holds you down on the treadmill.
So
you
you're
can
getting the
run.
motion.
Well, not just that, you get the impact with the ground.
Oh, nice.
Which is important for your bone density.
Totally.
And
I love the idea, though, of you in space on a unicycle. That
yeah.
sounds like a
Yeah,
real
it's what
treat.
it's like.
Yeah.
No seat.
Oh,
'Cause You don't
okay.
need a seat. And so 2 hours a day exercising, and you grab a little lunch somewhere along the way, and then you finish work at whatever 5, and then there's another briefing with mission control. To get ready for the next day and see what you have to study that night to get ready for all the experiments and stuff you're going to do the next day. And then there's a long list of, if you have time, do these things.
The wish list.
the job list, job jar, and so there's an endless list of those to do, and then study for the next day, and then maybe try and get to the window and take some pictures if you can, and then it's bedtime, and then I would steal. We get about 7 hours scheduled a night, so I would steal the first couple hours of my sleep. And that's when I would take pictures of the world or communicate with my family or play music or those other things.
That's what I was going to ask. How, if your days are scheduled to the minute for 16 hours.
The 5-minute intercrane.
Yeah. How in the world do you have time to record an album, record yourself cooking, which Chris's Kitchen, those videos, what a delight. It's literally every question I've ever had about space answered. I really like that you make what I call a peanut butter roll-up in one, which is a tortilla with peanut butter and honey
Sure.
or banana. I have all the options on earth, and I still eat that as a snack
It's
frequently.
good.
Yeah.
Well, we can't have bread because bread has crumbs, and the crumbs will float everywhere. So a tortilla lasts longer than bread, especially if it's vacuum sealed, the soft tortillas, and they don't make crumbs. So they're and they become the container for the food. So they're great.
That's a good
and
thing.
Peanut butter. does peanut butter last forever?
I feel like it can technically go bad.
Peanut butter and honey.
Yeah.
I think we've had honey from the ancient Egyptians.
I was
It's
going to
still
say, honey
edible.
never goes bad.
Yeah, so peanut butter and honey are pretty good. But one day, I'd been in space just long enough that it was time to cut my fingernails. Or fairly early on in the mission.
I've never
Gotta
even
cut my
thought of that.
fingernails. So I'm scrounging around. Where's the nail clippers on board a spaceship? But I found where they were. You actually go to the computer and there's a thing, a whole inventory of the whole space station, and you type in nail clippers, and it says go to this module in this cupboard in this drawer and pull it open, and that's where the nail clippers
What if
are.
the last person didn't put them back, though?
Yeah, it's called the IMS, the Inventory Management System, and yes,
Yeah.
put stuff back.
Yeah.
Anyway, and got my nail clippers, and then I clipped the first nail, and I'm
like on Earth, it flies somewhere.
yeah, but it just keeps flying, right? I'm thinking, what am I going to do here? And I thought, well, there's a couple of places, because we have an air purification system, where the air gets pulled into a big fan with a big filter on it. I thought, oh, I'm a clever guy. I will cut my nails over that air intake, and then the nails will get caught on there. So how good wow, I'm
a
a smart
genius.
astronaut.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then it occurred to me, I would bet that there's people on Earth who wonder, how do you cut your nails up here? And
Yeah.
I'm doing it. So I just stuck up, we have an iPad with a little camera built into it. Just stick the iPad on the wall and hit record, get it pointed at the camera the right way. And then sometimes I would just put a little video camera, pointed the right way as well.
Yeah.
And I'd made enough documentaries, or been part of enough documentaries on Earth, that I had some idea of what you need. Like you need to set the scene, you need some sort of intro, you need enough variety of shots, you need a 2-shot, then you need some sort of conclusion at the end and a way to end it. I'm not going to be the editor, but I recognize that I need to
Provide
at
the
least
raw material.
provide enough raw material. So I do all those things, and I film clipping my nails, and it's kind of cute. Anyway, but for whatever reason, I sort of was putting away the camera equipment, and I forgot my nails were now sitting there still stuck against the filter. So come Saturday, when it was Kevin Ford's job to go around and clean the filters on the spaceship, what you do first is you shut off the fan. So that you can take the filter out and clean it and vacuum it out. So Kevin comes around, shuts off the fan, and there's Chris Hadfield's fingernails suddenly floating like a cloud of insects in the space station. Kevin's like, who cut their fingernails in here? I'm like, oh shit,
I was going to say,
sorry.
that feels like at home. It's like with my husband, and I'm like, why did you cut your fingernails? Why did you throw them out?
Anyway, so I oops, sorry, Kevin. But my conclusion from all of that was, if I'm ever doing something up here that seems just sort of
Mundane.
cool to me,
Yeah.
like, hey, that's kind of cool. I've just set up a couple cameras, and this is how we make lunch, and and then I would send them all down to Earth, just all overnight when
Yeah.
you had less data tie up, and then there was an editor that the Canadian Space Agency hired, and all she did was take my little 20 videos and roll them into one.
She
and
did a great job.
She did a great job.
Like,
yeah, she
really.
shared it really nicely. Yeah.
You can fall into one heck of a internet hole watching those videos.
Yeah, they were
and just
fun
be
to
like,
make.
how is it 2 p.m. already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a bunch.
Yeah.
And but when I was a boy, watching the struggles of going to the moon, I was so thankful that they didn't pre-package it. They didn't sanitize it. When stuff was going on, they just videoed it
And it
or
happened.
real time broadcast it. This is what's going on. And I think without even pondering it, I realized if you're doing something cool and interesting and on the edge of the human experience, don't keep it to yourself.
No.
Let other people see it. Let other people not just be entertained, but maybe even learn from it. And so I quietly resolve, without even thinking about it, that if I ever get in a position where I'm doing this, I'm going to try and let
Show it
people
like it
let
is.
people see it.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of the reason that all those videos came back from my time on the
Yeah.
spaceship.
So outside of the fun and kind of the everyday things, you were the first Canadian to do a spacewalk.
On the $5 bill.
I know, no
Yeah.
big deal.
Crazy.
$5 bill.
I'm still alive.
Yeah. Are you the only one?
Well, there have been more than me do spacewalks.
No,
right?
I
There've been
mean
a few
on
of
a
us.
money that's still alive.
Yeah, but there are other Canadians who have done spacewalks.
Yes.
And it's not my face, it's a spacewalker. But yeah, there's only 4 Canadians who have, myself and Steve McLean and Dave Williams and David Saint-Jacques. So Yeah, we're the only people alive.
It's 25% chance.
Yeah.
It's you.
that are on the $5 bill. So yeah, I was the first Canadian to ever walk in space.
And that's what your children's book, The Dark is Dark, which is now the play with the Young People's Theatre. That's what it's about. It's about you as a kid being scared of the dark.
The dark.
And I know you've talked about how it's kind of a metaphor for you preparing yourself to. I can't even fathom going outside of a spaceship. I know it's just a metal bubble inside of space.
Yeah.
But the idea of voluntarily leaving is so scary. It's so scary.
Well, it's dangerous, but just because something is dangerous, it doesn't have to be scary. That's kind of a fundamental lesson that you sort of intuitively learn during your life, but maybe you've never actually thought about it that way. And if you talk to people all the time, they say, for example, oh, spacewalks are scary. Things aren't scary, just sometimes people are scared. Fear and danger are not synonyms.
Yeah.
They're not the same word. As soon as you've learned how to do something, then it doesn't change, but you don't have to be afraid anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
You change your perspective. You
Not
look
just
at something
that, but
different.
you change your ability.
Yeah.
You know, and like riding a bike, right? Or whatever. Riding a bike's scary until you learn how, and then it's like, are you afraid of riding a bike? No,
No.
I'm not
Yeah.
afraid. But the danger didn't change, the bike didn't change. The only thing that changed was you learned how to ride a bike. And spacewalking's the same thing. And gosh, you want to ride a bike. It's cool, it's fast, it's fun, you get the wind in your hair, you go places, it's joyful. Even though it does have some danger. And so you wear a helmet, and maybe some knee pads or something. But if you're doing BMX. But so spacewalking is exactly like that. You wear a helmet, you wear the protective equipment.
You do everything
but
you
get to
can.
then go do something
Yeah.
that is just so unbelievably cool, so different, so rare, so fantastically beautiful and fulfilling, and dreams coming true kind of activity. That it's dangerous, but so long as you get ready for it, then it's just like riding a bike. It doesn't need to be fear mongering anymore.
Well, and even I think in your kids' book turned play, it's that not even perspective shift, but in the book I read it as very much my room's dark, but so is the moon, and that's where I want to go, and space is dark, but I love that, and kind of switching, and it still is dark to find those monsters and those things around, but you're going to be, you see it in a different light. You kind of have changed your feelings on it and grown around your fear, as opposed to like living with it, under it kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. It's a, fear is crippling, right? When you are afraid, it's really hard to see anything but your own fear. You sure don't notice the beautiful nuance of the variety of things around you. You tend to just be completely aware of the petrifying and funneling focused effect of your own anxiety and fear, which is a terrible way to go through life. Because you miss almost everything.
Yeah.
You're like a little mouse confronted with a cat, and that's nothing else in the universe matters
Except for that.
your fear. So if you can actually find a way to pull yourself back from the fear of the moment, to gain the skills, so you're not just instinctively crippled by it, to put yourself into almost a third eye position to see what's happening, then maybe you can recognize, hey, yeah, it's dark, but, or yeah, I'm out on a spacewalk, but, or yeah, bad things might happen. Bad things might always happen. But meanwhile, I'm doing some amazing, cool stuff. And so that acceptance, or that approach to danger, becomes hugely important in what you're going to do with your life. And if you choose to just succumb to the things that you judge to be too scary, like you say, well, I'm too scared, I could never. well, how big a list is that going to be for
Yeah.
you? I'm too scared. I could never fly. I could never get married. I could never cross the street. I could never leave my house. I could never leave my bed. Where are you going to draw the line as to too scary in order to actually conduct a fulfilling and interesting life? And a lot of people never even really think about that. All they do is put some fear-driven fences around themselves and then say, okay,
This is
I'm
where
going
I
to
live.
confine my life within this little subset of possibility. And it's okay, maybe, but if you haven't done it deliberately, then I think it's kind of a sadness.
It could be so much more.
Right.
And you could see and experience and
Right.
feel so much bigger. And I think that's what's
But
really.
on the flip side, I am not an adrenaline junkie.
I was going to say, you sound like you're
No,
like
I would not-
skydiving,
I
doing
would,
all
I
that.
would never. I would never just take a dumb risk for unless it's serving some sort of purpose
Yeah.
that I think is worthwhile. Like I'm going to take a measured risk, but I would never just to try and excite myself, do something that might end my life or cause me great physical harm. Why would I do that? You know.
Again, you like the work.
Where's the benefit of it? I want this to challenge me, to be difficult, to be kind of at the edge of my own capabilities, but I not just for nothing. Your job is not to hide from or endure the fear. Your job is to master the danger so that you can then do something that otherwise would have been too dangerous or impossible. And that's a whole different perspective on this. You're not, man, I survived a rocket launch. I'm a rocket ship pilot.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that is, I would rather go through life being the rocket ship pilot than a terrified
Having
passenger
survived a
in
rocket
my
launch.
own life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but it's the same rocket.
Yeah.
And it's the same experience, but it's all a matter of how you choose to look at it, what
Yeah.
your perspective is.
Well, I think you've talked a lot about how your perspective shifted, and you talked earlier about how your perspective on time and movement of things shifted when you were in space. I feel like, and I know you are a huge music fan. You had your super viral Space Oddity that you did, which was amazing, and you recorded an album on the International Space Station. Our mutual friend Danny Michel on I think you were on a Kolebnikov on a Russian icebreaker.
Danny and I went almost all the way to the North Pole on an old Soviet icebreaker
Yeah.
called the Kapitan Khlebnikov.
Oh, see, that's not my Russian.
Khlebnikov. And I brought along a team of artists
Yeah.
so that we could share the experience with as many people as possible. We got, I say close to the North Pole, we got 83 degrees north out of 90 degrees. So more northerly than most people have ever been,
Yeah.
at least on the ground. And but I thought, wouldn't it be great to not just experience this myself, but use technology and social media to share this with tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people. So I invited Danny to come along as well. And at first he was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to play some music, it'll be fun. By the end of it, he wrote a whole bunch of music on the way and then set up this little makeshift sort of like this one, a little makeshift recording studio in his sleeping berth on board. And then we got to know some of the Russian crew, and they were singing some of these great Russian folk songs, and he recorded a whole bunch. And then out of that came a whole album called the Khlebnikov. And
Have it on vinyl. It's very good.
Yeah,
it
it's
frequently
fun.
rotates on my record
and
player.
Rob Carley,
Oh my gosh.
great musician.
Anyone who can play the old licorice stick, I'm into. Yeah.
Rob, he does all the music for Murdoch Mysteries.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's the guy who does all the sound for Murdoch Mysteries.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he sits. They send him the video with no sound.
Yeah.
And he sits and watches it, and then he writes all the music for Murdoch Mysteries.
Oh my gosh,
He has
I
for
did not.
years.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, Rob helped make the Khlebnikov album, but it was similar in space. I thought, I'm in this edge of human experience voyage.
Yeah.
And I can try and just remember it, or I can try and take pictures of it, or maybe make videos of it. But wouldn't it be cool to try and write music about it while I'm here? And how does it inspire? How does it make me feel? And so I half wrote some songs before I went, some with my brother, one with my son, and then and finished writing a couple songs I wrote completely from scratch while I was up there. And then in the evening, or night when I was supposed to be asleep, I would just put the iPad up on the wall, hook it up through this little preamp that I'd brought up. I found GarageBand, taught myself how to use GarageBand
In space, in your spare time in space. Yeah.
And well, it's pretty intuitive.
Yeah.
And then just float this Sennheiser microphone just floating in front of me, and then play and because it's got a click track on GarageBand, so you can get the same multi-layer recording.
Totally.
I could just do the guitar, get 3 or 4 guitar takes, and then put the headphones on and then sing along with it. And wrote and recorded a whole album called Space Session. My daughter named it Space Sessions: Songs from a Tin Can.
Oh my gosh.
And so yeah, it was really lovely. And now that music has been put to full orchestral, and so I go perform with the Vancouver Symphony.
Oh my gosh.
And there's 75 people and a choir behind me, and we're playing those songs.
Did you ever imagine? While you're in space.
Yeah, my whole life is like a pinch me moment.
Yeah.
It seems like could this actually possibly be happening? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Like my wife and I got an email from the Queen saying, "Would you like to come for a sleepover?" Or at least from one of her footmen or ladies in waiting.
I like to imagine the Queen emailing you.
Yeah,
That's much more fun. Yeah.
But we're like, who sent us this email? But when you read it, you're going, well, it looks kind of legit.
Yeah.
This isn't spam.
Not a phishing.
Send a note back. And they said, yeah, the Queen and Prince Philip would love to have your company and come stay at Windsor Castle and come for dinner and breakfast and, come and love to talk to you. And we're like, okay, we'll go do that. And
sounds like a fun trip.
And we did, but stuff like that, if you just give yourself some great big dreams, and then relentlessly try and turn yourself into the person that can do those things. It's amazing where it leads. And also, when an opportunity comes, seize it.
Yeah.
Don't go, nah, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
If you can possibly say, that window's only open for a little while, but man, I'm going to look through it because this is cool. And seize the opportunity. And it's just amazing how those events and opportunities build on each other. And we got to, spend the evening with the Queen and Prince Philip and their little
dogs.
corgis
I was
running
going to say
around.
so many corgis. Yeah.
Well, not just that, but one of their kids came over with a dachshund.
Really?
And so the Queen had dorgies as well.
Oh.
Dachshund and corgis got together.
Interesting. Oh.
So the Queen was like,
such short little dogs.
yeah, dorgies. And the dogs were like, hey, Mom, when's supper?
Yeah.
They're like, they don't know she's the Queen. Yeah. And they were like, we're okay, we're all standing around, but when do we go in for dinner so Prince Philip can slip us some food? You know? Anyway, so it was delightful. But moments like that, I mean, the Queen and Prince Philip, they were just people.
Yeah.
The life of service, they knew everybody had done everything. And so I just counted as such a huge lucky privilege to have had a chance to even meet them and get to know them for one day.
Yeah.
And then you just go on with your life and go, that was
cool.
That was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just, have that dwindle into nothing. I've just come back from 6 months in space. I don't want this experience to just dwindle into nothing. I want to let other people experience as much of it as I can possibly enable. So that's why, writing books and making TV shows and doing MasterClass and teaching at university and all the other stuff. I have 3 TV shows in pre-production right now and, all that stuff. But it's all just, this is cool stuff.
Yeah.
I love what's going on here. Here's all the stories. Here's the fun stuff. And I can learn a tremendous amount. Like, I know nothing about making TV shows, but I'm going to learn a whole bunch by doing that. And so I'm always looking to see what's coming next that really sort of taxes me and sparks me and challenges me to improve what my capabilities are.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to the gills that you are a curious person. Like, you seem like someone who just is always pushing to find something new and figure out something new. And that's just like so cool, because arguably you could be like, my resume's done, this is great, I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna take it breezy. But the fact that you love continuing to add things to the world, whether it's through entertainment or information or anything like that, or teaching new people to kind of carry on the torch. It's like really cool because you could also just been like, nah, I'm good. I'm also very intrigued by, and I'd love to really quickly hear what you think about the Artemis 3. We're going back to the moon?
Oh, yeah.
That's so exciting. Because we got over the moon for a little bit, and now we're going back into the moon.
Well, it's sort of like the history of human exploration. We're like, okay, we've been living here for a long time. And most people, I'm okay with living here. You know, I got my own problems.
Yeah.
I don't need to go over that hill or across that ocean or whatever. But there's always a subset of us, you know, an irritated adolescent or something who's like, I'm leaving. Or, you know, it might be more interesting over there.
Yeah.
And so then they figure out, how could we go over there? And if it's a long way, then they're going to take a big risk. And like if you look at whoever the first Canadians that came here, 19,000 years ago, when as the ice retreated from the ice age and they were living over on the other side in Siberia, and a few of them were like pushing the very hairy edge of it to try and come and see what opportunity there might be in this big unexplored land, or the Vikings 1,000 years ago with Leif the Lucky and Eric the Red and sailing into what is now Newfoundland, or Columbus 500 years ago, or the very first people to New Zealand 800 years ago, or the first people to Antarctica 120 years ago. All of them were like, this is okay, but man, I want to go see about that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to push the limits of it. But then the first people, they often just sort of come back with the story. Hey, this is what's there. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Let's figure out, we need to invent something before we can go live there, like Antarctica. We got to invent some stuff before we can go live there. But after a while, then you invent some stuff and you go, hey, we could actually go live there now. We have airplanes, or we have
Heating.
nuclear power,
Yeah.
or we have whatever. That's what's happened on the moon.
Yeah.
It was impossible, and then we invented rockets, and then there was Sputnik, and then the Apollo program, and suddenly it was now, if you really worked hard, just barely possible. And a few people made it to the moon, but we almost killed, Apollo 13. It was crazy. But then they came back and went, okay, now we know a lot more about the moon, but we need to invent some stuff.
Yeah.
We need to get better at this and bring the safety up so the cost comes down. But now, we're at the moment in history where, with the new vehicles that SpaceX is building, that suddenly it is way safer and simpler, and therefore way cheaper to go. And we know that the moon is like bigger than Africa if you put it on a map, and it's completely untapped, and there's no life there. So imagine if we were sailing across the Atlantic and someone said, "What's that?" And it was a continent bigger than Africa, completely untapped. We should go have a look.
Yeah.
and there's probably some good minerals there and some stuff we could use, and we're not doing any harm because there's no life there, so let's figure this out. That's where we are with the moon now.
Yeah.
And so the first one was Apollo, great, glorious, name out of history. The sister of Apollo was Artemis. And back then, because of culture, it was all men. Now it's a mixture of men and women, so Artemis, great name. And now we are at the stage where we're not just going to just barely be capable of finding out what's there, but actually start to go there to stay, much as we have through all of human history. And I helped make that happen, through the work that I did. And some of the astronauts that I trained, or the ones that I helped select, are now the people that are going to be going to the place that I always dreamed of going.
Yes!
And actually, not just circling it, but fairly soon landing, exploring, but also starting to, put up a place to live.
Oh my gosh.
That's where we are in history
How
right now.
thrilling and exciting.
And it's not like the problems at home are going to go away. That's never happened in history. But there's always the subset of us who aren't just satisfied with dealing with the problems in the neighborhood. They also want other magnificent, edge of human experience things to happen. And that's what's going on around us as well. So I find it hugely
I'm
interesting
very
and
excited
inspiring.
about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna finish us off with just a very quick rapid fire. I'm gonna do 5 questions. Are you ready? Okay. Comfort food you dreamed of when you were in space.
Really sloppy big piece of pizza, where it's sort of melting in your hand, and that delicious sort of, and the smell of it, and the different textures when you bite into it.
Like a 2-hander or like with the floppy paper plate?
No, just the two-hander.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's oozing into your fingers.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen without gravity.
No.
Yeah.
That's a dream. That I now want pizza. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. What is your favorite condiment, and did they have it in space for you?
It's different. It's not a quick answer.
Okay.
Because if I asked you what your favorite condiment is now, I'm not asking. But then if I said, stand on your head for 6 hours,
Oh.
so that like all of the blood is rushing to your head, and then your tongue sort of swells up, and then your sinuses fill up because you're upside down for hours and hours and hours, so that now it's like a really bad head cold where you can't really taste stuff anymore because your nose is clogged and your tongue is swelling up. Now, what's your favorite condiment? And you're probably going to want something that has a stronger flavor.
Totally.
Just because you're all congested.
Yeah.
In space, there's no gravity to drain your sinuses, and there's always extra fluid in your head. So it's sort of like that situation where you have a bad head cold. And so my favorite condiment in space was like wasabi paste.
Nice.
Or super hot sauce or horseradish.
It would give you the feeling that you were clearing your sinuses.
It would sear through the congestion.
Yeah.
And some of them actually make your sinuses water a little, right? And so my favorite on Earth, I just like pepper. But in space, hot sauce. That's
Oh
what
my
you
gosh.
want. You want hot sauce.
I love that. Cake or pie? And could you even make either of those in space?
Pie.
Pie, 100%.
I
You are
prefer
correct.
pie.
That's an accurate answer.
I prefer pie. I love the richness and the thickness of it, and the contrast between the light flaky crust and then whatever the filling is. I even ordered pie for
I know.
lunch.
You're speaking my language.
So pie. And what was the second half?
Could you make it in, like, without gravity? How do you mix ingredients?
Well, so if you're doing something that relies on rising, then it's going to be really weird because it'll bubble, but it won't. There's no gravity to hold it down. So, like, if you've got a crust that needs to rise, then it's probably going to more like balloon than rise, because it's going to go down just as much as it goes up. And so I think you'd end up with like a bubble of crust as opposed to a nicely risen crust. And there's no oven, so you can't bake anything.
That's true.
Everything's just got to be something that's been in a bag for 9 months and now a year, and now you can just. We have like an easy bake oven on board, where you just put the package inside, you close it up, you put it on, you wait 3 minutes, and you pull out this piping hot package, you Velcro it to the wall, and you snip it open, and then your food is just hot. So that's all you got. It's
Okay.
Interesting.
So,
But my favorite dessert up there was like a lemon curd pie, because it was, the tartness of the lemon,
Like a lemon
and the
meringue.
sweetness of it, and there's sort of a real thickness to it because it's been in this package. So the lemon curd tart was my favorite thing.
based on all your answers, we have the same opinion on food, and I'm
okay.
thrilled about
All right.
that. Very exciting. Okay, one last question.
All right.
And it's not even like a rapid fire. If I bought a 10-pound bag of flour on Earth, it weighs 10 pounds.
Yeah.
How much would it weigh on the moon, and how much would it weigh on Mars? This is this is my own brain
So
question.
on the moon, you say it's a 10-pound bag?
Yeah.
So it's 1/6 the gravity. So 10 divided by 6, so a little less than 2. So 1.8 pounds.
Okay.
And if it was on the moon, it's 30%, so about 3.5 pounds. Wow. So your 10-pound bag would weigh, how much 3.5 pounds is, or a little under 2 pounds or kilograms is. So if you weigh, 50 kilograms, then suddenly, you're a sixth of that. So you can jump really high.
Yeah.
And it's weird. But it's not just your weight. It's like your lips.
Oh.
Your tongue weighs a sixth as much as well. Your hair weighs a sixth, so it floats around more. Your clothes don't get pulled down by the gravity. They float on you more. It's more subtle in ways than you might think. And it's really weird to get used to.
I would look like Medusa in space. I got too much hair here. I would have way too much hair in space.
Yeah, especially on board the spaceship where you're 100% weightless.
Yeah.
It just becomes
Yeah.
big lion's mane around your head.
I think if you have any say, which it sounds like you do, I feel like the next experiment on the ISS should be baking a cake.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
We're gonna maybe a magnifying glass by the window. Where are you gonna?
You could, yeah, that would work.
We need
Some sort of
an
heat
oven.
source oven. Oh, actually, my girlfriend loves camping. She's got a reflector oven. You could use the
maybe
sun.
a reflector oven.
Ah.
Or if we could somehow take the waste heat from one of the experiments and get something that doesn't require too much. Maybe one muffin or
Or
one
like a pancake.
One little
That's easy.
pancake.
There you
Yeah,
go.
pancake.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel like we've figured it out.
Space pancakes.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
We can
thank you,
keep
Berg.
eating, but this has been such an
been a delight.
absolute treat.
Pleasure.
This has been the most fascinating lunch I've ever had in my life.
Thank you so much for spending this hour with me. Don't forget to subscribe to Mary's Reservation for Two on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.